Being able to calculate the correct amount of parts per million of nitrogen fertilizer is an important task so that growers aren't over-fertilizing or under-fertilizing. So while I've developed a fact sheet that outlines some of the details for this, I've also developed an interactive Excel sheet that I'm just going to go over briefly how to go about working with it to hopefully make this process very easy and user-friendly. All right, while there is a fact sheet, I've also have this kind of spreadsheet to hopefully make it a little bit easier and more interactive so you can calculate for your particular situation. So if we look here, what I have basically all organized is the yellow boxes is what you're going to fill in, so that's why it's interactive and specific for your situation, and the blue boxes is automatically going to be calculated from that. And I've got the kind of area open here so you can see some of the formulas if you need that. So for example, let's just take a fertilizer here, and I'm going to make it relatively easy with different numbers. So instead of, let's just say I had a 10% nitrogen, a 3% phosphorus, and a 7% potassium fertilizer. So I input the fertilizer content of the particular fertilizer I have, and I put the goal nitrogen. So if I want 120 or if I want 100, I can simply put that in right here. So let's go with our 100 parts per million of nitrogen with this fertilizer, and you can see everything else is automatically calculated. It tells you how many fertilizer grams per liter you need to add, how many grams per 100 gallons, how many ounces per 100 gallons, and how many ounces per 50 gallons there. Now, if I was using a fertilizer injector, I put the simple ratio here. So if it's a 1 to 100 ratio, it could be a 1 to 250 ratio. That's another relatively common one. And it tells me how many grams of fertilizer per liter stock of solution to make and how many grams of fertilizer per gallon stock. Now keep in mind, if you're doing something super concentrated, it might fall out of solution, so you want to mix that in, let it sit for a little while, and just make sure it stays in suspension. We could see here, well, if I'm now going to go to another house and with a different crop, and I'm going to change my fertilizer here, and now I've got a 15, 5, 8, we can see how all those numbers have immediately changed. Now I also put here how much parts per million of phosphorus and potassium you are adding. While the focus here is for nitrogen, as for many crops it is, just want you to be aware of the phosphorus and potassium that you are adding. And again, we could make that, change that to 120, and we could see how all the numbers immediately change. Now if we wanted to get really specific, we could make that 115 even, if we had a 1 to 1000 ratio. So you can have these very easy calculations, hopefully, to make this very simplified and very accurate to ensure you're hitting the correct goal parts per million of nitrogen while also being aware of the phosphorus and potassium you're adding to your growing situation.